Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Norville Barrington, from the Metro New York chapter of National Black MBA and bccelerator, Advancing Black Entrepreneurship. I want to welcome you to today's broadcast. We have a wonderful conversation today focused on our women, the power of women entrepreneurs. Um, our guest today, who I'm looking forward to interviewing, is going to shed some light on not only the power of entrepreneurship for women, but what are the opportunities for women? What are the industries? What are the things that she's seen in her experience? And who I'm referring to Nicole M. Cober. I'm looking forward to connecting with her and learning more about her journey and welcome you to this telecast on behalf of National Black MBA Metro New York chapter and bccelerator. At this time, I'm going to introduce our president of the Metro New York MBA chapter, Andrew Hamilton, for his remarks. Andrew, how are you doing today?
I am doing fantastic. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. Looking forward to this conversation. One of the main goals of this organization is to provide opportunities for entrepreneurship, and with the current trend in the last maybe 5 to 10 years, women have dominated this market as far as being the new entrepreneurs and small business here in this country. So why not show and reflect that in our conversations with thought leaders and other entrepreneurial experts in that arena. So welcome to Entrepreneurial Mondays. I'm looking forward to the conversation. We have a dynamic week. Tomorrow we have another conversation with Michelle P., aka Michelle Pyram, and Execute the Dream, and Samila Roger, as far as curating that event on Tuesday. On Wednesday, we have a phenomenal conversation with S&P Global, with Kavern Anderson and Miss Cheryl Baxter. Should be a great conversation. And Thursday is our digital and online career fair. Looking forward to that as well, as we provide opportunities to many of our members here in the New York area and nationwide to our sister chapters, other 39 sister chapters around the country. And Friday's Juneteenth. So sit back, hopefully have some questions to ask our guest, and look forward to the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew, for your remarks. And this is a wonderful week to be a member, be part of our network, the National Black MBA Metro New York chapter. And today's conversation is going to help spark that discussion. When we look at the entrepreneurial state of women, about 12.13 women actually own businesses, which are great. When we look at it from how many businesses have grown over the last year, you're looking at close to about 2,000 businesses that have grown. But we also know from a COVID perspective, and we've seen what the state of our country is going through right now as it's related to our health crisis, and also coming back in terms of recovery. There are some opportunities for African Americans that the numbers just don't show here in terms of the industries, the opportunities, and where exactly the state of entrepreneurship is for African American women. So today's guest, and this is going to be an interactive conversation, so we do actually use the chat feature for those of you who are looking at this via Facebook through on our live stream platform. We want to get your take and get your input as well. We'll also send out some additional information on how you can be part of our discussion long term, as well as our NY Black MBA Business Symposium will be launching June the 26th, which is from 10 to 3, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we're going to discuss more of these issues and more of the workshop options for businesses to actually thrive as well. Nicole M. Cober is the managing principal, a partner for Cober, Johnson and Comey, which is an award-winning multi-dollar and business consultant firm. She's also an author, a media influencer, and a contributor, an advocate for women empowerment for small business growth. Ms. Cober helped other women grow their businesses and become leaders within their various industries with a nice balance between healthy personal balance and also personal lives, which is very important. She provides clients with a blueprint for portraying and getting their business positioning to really authenticate their brands, and also the legal aspect to make sure their brands are protected from intellectual properties and creative works. She empowers startups and local small businesses to thrive in a full-fledged effect that helps brands really look at how they could be profitable, but also look at the growth strategies for those brands as well. She has been contributing to many businesses going back to the businesses that she launched, which was she was a day owner of a spa called the Spa Day Salon, and which is the nation's capital. She's also part of one of the biggest. She was also part of one of the biggest law firms as a litigation associate, one of the biggest law firms in the DC area. And of course, she was also a senior law clerk for Chief Judge and Anna Wapner for the DC Court of Appeals. She was recognized for some of the work that she has done by Enterprising Women's Magazine as an award recipient in 2008. She's also been praised by many publications, including Essence, Fox. She's a guest lecturer at Georgetown University, has spoken at Harvard University as well, has been featured at Black Enterprise in many publications that her list goes on and on and on. One of the things that I do want to highlight about her background here is she is a graduate from the University of Berkeley and law school at the Harvard School of Law. She brings a wealth of knowledge, not only from her previous experience, but everything that she's doing to help entrepreneurs such as yourself advance in their careers. And there's more that I'm going to get into at this time. I want to introduce our guest today, Nicole Cober. How are you doing today?
I am great, Norville. How are you? I have to say, because I already hear my HU law school people in my ear. They're like, Harvard. No, I am a proud Howard alum, class of '96. I just wanted to say that.
Yes. Yes, thank you so much for that. And I know our president from our chapter president here, he's from Hampton University.
Oh, okay.
So I can hear him in the background going crazy, and we know we have a lot of members both from Hampton and for Howard. So I love it.
I want you to keep your audience, so I won't do the battle of the real HU right now. We'll just live in harmony for the next few minutes, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, and thank you for your time. We know that we're in a state of change within our country. We know that there are a lot of things that are happening, not only outside, but also for you personally. But how did you get to the role that you are in now? I mean, you wear a lot of hats. Which of course is commendable, but how did you actually get to the place where now you're a partner at a firm and now you're consulting women about their small business opportunities as well?
Sure. Well, it's a long story, but to make a long story short, I can't say that I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but my father was one. I was born and raised in Oakland, California, the Bay Area, California girl, Oakland, California girl. And, I went to Berkeley. I was a communications major. So I thought that I would really love, to have this intriguing career in media one day, but my knees buckled. I was afraid upon graduation. And so I did what all people do. I went to law school. I mean, crazy, right? But I did. I was very blessed to come out to the East Coast and go to Howard. And I went the traditional route, went to law school. I worked at a large firm. I did a lot of litigation, insurance litigation, all this stuff. And it just didn't, it was like, it just wasn't my heartbeat. And that was around 9/11, so more than 20 years ago. But around that time, I had been at the firm for about 4 years, and I was just kind of puddling along. I was trying, I have a phrase, I was trying really hard at being mediocre. So I don't know if anybody out there knows what that means, but I was very competent, but it wasn't passion filled with the type of work that I was doing. And I experienced what at that time seemed to be devastating, but in retrospect, it was very life-changing, and I got laid off. They were doing layoffs around that time, and so I had to make a decision, and one that was not fear-based, but one was that, look, I did the thing that felt comfortable. Let's now do something that I really want with everything in my being. And so the thought of going to another law firm at the time just didn't do it for me. So I started looking into entrepreneurship, and that was about 2002. All right. So a few months go by, and I put together my first business plan, and that's what you referenced. I opened a day spa and hair salon called Soul Day Spa and Salon, and I did everything. It was quite the opposite of what my career had been, meaning that I was not trying really hard at being mediocre. I was very much excited about learning how to put a business plan together. I was very excited about going to the SBA and talking to a SCORE mentor and learning about the 504 program, which is a way to get a building for your business, and on and on. And that was really, really something that I just never looked back on. I kept going forward, and I had that business. It turned in from one to a chain of day spas, and I did that for a decade. And so that was about 2010. And if you know anything about 2009, 10, the Great Recession, I lost my business. Women were not, when you have and there's all kinds of schools of thought on luxury businesses, right? But, I did cater to African-American women with high net worth. So they weren't getting their hair done that much, and they were going natural. We're in DC. They were going natural. They were also not getting their nails done. So it really was, the perfect storm as to how to put something together. But what, when I was kind of licking my wounds on that at that time, I thought about, look, you did all of this yourself. You put the business plan together. You learned about financing, marketing, operations, like I said, branding before there was even social media. And my next chapter really came from that authentic place that, hey, I really enjoyed the process of putting a business together. So if I did it for myself, maybe I could do it for other people. And I didn't look back. I, had a series of opportunities and met up with my current partner and opened my consulting practice, which includes, it's a hybrid. It's a business consulting, it's legal, it's everything to do with how you own, operate, and most importantly, scale your business and all the things that come along with it. And was able to, incorporate branding, media, how to best take advantage of your business status and be relevant in the media. And I help my clients with that too. So, that's my long story short, but I think it tells you, how those forks in the road really turned into opportunities. And I'm really grateful that, when I was faced with devastation, business loss, financial loss, I was able to still pick up the pieces and look at, well, what do I do best? What do I enjoy? And make that the foundation off which to build again.
So now when and you're a contributor to many publications, a lot of media outlets, what led you to National Women's Business Council? And how did that change your perspective in terms of things that you've done in the past and now and in this current role as a member on the board?
Right. So for those of you who have not heard of the council, the National Women's Business Council is an appointed position by the SBA, and we are an advisory council to the White House, Congress, and the SBA on women in business issues. And I have had my life, my business career has been closely tied to the SBA for many years. As I referenced earlier, when I was starting as an entrepreneur nearly 20 years ago, I went to SCORE. That is a free consulting service of retired executives. But fast forward to when I started my consulting firm, I went back to the SBA and I said, hey, I would like to be a SCORE mentor. I am retired of sorts. I retired from that business, right. But I have counseled hundreds of existing businesses as well as startups through the SBA program. In addition to that, the SBA also has an incubator or accelerator program called Emerging Leaders. And they have they have classes all throughout the country. The SBA selects the business owner. The business owner has to meet certain criteria, be in business 5 years. They have to have gross annual sales of, I believe it's 400,000. And then they're in this intense 7-month course. And I contracted with them. And for the last 5 years, I have been an emerging leaders instructor. And so again, the opportunity to use my life, my stories, my experiences to help scale businesses through my relationship with the SBA. They, I believe, saw, this consistent passion of mine. And I was very fortunate to be confirmed to sit on this council with a dozen other women from both parties. So it's a bipartisan council rather. And I think it's the best part of what the country does when we can focus on an issue, women in business, look at an issue from different perspectives, vantage points, and experiences, and come together and try to help with policy recommendations, et cetera.
So what are some of the misconceptions that you might have had coming into the role? And what are some new opportunities and some initiatives that the council is working on? And how have you kind of played a part in making sure that, these initiatives get carried on?
I don't know if I had any misconceptions because, quite frankly, I hadn't really heard of the council prior to my joining. Previous councils were really behind the scenes and research oriented, right? So they would come up and do surveys and then put together a report, which we still do. However, under the leadership of Liz Sarah, the chair of the council, she really made it her mission that we be more public facing and realize that, yes, we do have 3 primary stakeholders: the White House, SBA, and Congress. But equally important, we wanted the people, women, entrepreneurs, business owners, to really know who we were so that they could come to us for their concerns, for the challenges, their boots on the ground, things that they're experiencing, so that we'd have real stories to take back to those primary stakeholders when they're in the midst of doing policy recommendations, so that we were almost a broker of sorts. And I love that has been her focus. And I think that we are really trudging forward to bridge those two communities.
And we'll definitely come back to the council. And when we look at it from the state of entrepreneurship for women, there are a lot of misconceptions about what is, are women successful, industries women thrive in. With you being part of council and your experience, and of course, your contributions, what have you seen? What is the state of entrepreneurship for women?
So we're not a monolith, right? So as African Americans, we always say, hey, we're not a monolith. Definitely as women in business, we're not a monolith. There are, we vary based on industry. We vary based really on race. We vary based on numbers of employees. I think one shocking statistic that I didn't know prior to getting on the council was that 90% of all women in business are solopreneurs, meaning they don't employ people. So part of my mission is to get that stat out there and to really, since my personal business is to scale businesses, really teeing up all entrepreneurs, but particularly women and especially Black women business owners. Are you in the position to grow your business by employing at least one FTE? And so I find that that's really the value of the council, is that we get that platform to get these kind of myths out there, these myth busters and statistics, and try to help them get over them so that they can scale their business.
So in this research and in our studies, as we do Entrepreneurial Mondays, we found new terms that we know probably exist, but didn't know there was a term for it. Terms such as sidepreneurs.
Yes.
These individuals who have side businesses and work full time. When you look at it from a women perspective, what are your thoughts in terms of, and even just entrepreneurship in general, in terms of transitioning from sidepreneurs, and what is needed for people to go into full entrepreneurship?
Great question. Several aspects of that. And I will say that when you look at, so let me give you an example of revenue disparity. All right. When you look at Black women business owners, we typically are side hustle businesses. We typically, our earned income is about $26,000 to all women businesses, which is well over $100,000. Great gap, right? So that tells me when I'm seeing 26,000, you can't live off of $26,000. So usually, and I'm citing the American Express State of Women in Business that came out in 2019. So they talk about this disparity upon race. They talk about this sidepreneur. They talk about the necessitypreneur, right? So where women may be laid off, or they're not accelerating in corporate America, or they just don't have enough, they're making just enough to make ends meet, they venture off into the sidepreneurship. So that's the context within which I'm speaking. Now, the steps, how do you move from that to full-time? I'm not a numbers girl in terms of like you smart MBAs, right? But I will tell you what I know. I know what I need to live. All right. As a mama, I am now happily married. Thank you. And I got my kids. One is almost out the house, child. One is almost, he's still in the thick of it. But I, as a formerly single woman raising two kids, I know what my bottom line monthly income must be. And that same kind of mentality is what I start off with my side entrepreneurs. I say, what is it that you need to make monthly, quarterly, annually for you and your household to live? Once you understand that number, that's the magic number. Then you build up. Then you say, okay, well, how many customers do I need? How many hair? How many IT service clients, whatever your number is. And then how much does that cost beyond your expenses? How much do I need in terms of equipment and utilities and so forth? Once you get that budget together in your mind, because it's real easy, right? It's real easy to know what you need and how much. Then you can determine how much you charge. Then you can determine, well, how much my expenses are. And really, that fundamental budget is what McDonald's does and is what I do, and every business in between. It's very simple. It can get complex, but everybody needs to know what that base bottom line is and work their way on up. And so that's what I encourage the side entrepreneurs to do. You have got to be able to make that your bottom line before you can transition out of your 9 to 5, because I don't want anybody suffering. I want all your kids to get fed. I want you to have the things that you need. And it is stressful, unnecessarily stressful, to go out there without knowing your budget items. All right. So hopefully that wasn't too long-winded.
No.
But the focus of it is, how much do you need to make? And then let's back into, how much do you charge? What should your expenses be?
Now, someone like yourself who was able to move from, being associate litigation, now going into your own firm, is a smoother transition because of your professional experience. Now, many people are thinking the same way. I've done this work for X amount of years, and I want to go into this area. What advice would you give for entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs who are thinking or have that concept? These are my skills, these are my abilities, yes, but I want to be able to effectively go into those areas, but there's some barriers. What are some advice that you would give to women who are thinking that way?
Get your clients, girl. Get your clients first. And this is not woman specific. Before you jump out from your 9 to 5, and I really talk to people I'm in DC, so a lot of government contractors, right? You're making lots of relationships in the government. Why not convert your employer to your first client? My experience with 5 years of looking at successful entrepreneurs and scaling them, their first step was securing that first contract, whether they were at the Department of Defense, whether they are with a large firm. If they were able to convert themselves from a worker, you still have to, fulfill the contract, but from a worker to a rainmaker, that is a key skill set that you must have. You must be able to get your first client successfully. And if that's not something that you feel comfortable doing, you have to partner up with someone that is the rainmaker and that will help couple marry what your technical proficiency is with the ability of another person to go out and secure those first key contracts. This question is so new is so fresh to me, because my husband and I, just the other evening, we were talking to a very wonderful young man who's done some work for us. He's been in marketing for 20 years and at a large firm. And my husband was giving him all the numbers, and I'm just sitting here, child, just listening to the brothers talk. And then they gave me a little interjection. I said, get your client, turn your employer into your customer. And if you can do that, you win. And then they were like, that's good. That's good. And I kept doing whatever I was doing. But that's really my advice. Be strategic. Use those relationships, your everyday relationships, and have them see you in a different way. Show them how they can save money with you, no benefits and everything, and you still get that quality work done for less, and you're off to the races.
Now, you're in the DC area, but you speak to entrepreneurs across the country. When we look at growth numbers, Michigan, Georgia, Florida, strong growth numbers for entrepreneurs, for women. But we also see opportunities for growth. And a lot of it has to do with the metro areas, the Detroits, the New Yorks, the Charlottes of the world. What are some things that you've seen in different regions that are applicable, but there's some things that are completely separate in terms of geographic barriers or opportunities for African American women?
Great question. The first thing that jumped into my head is really one of the focal areas for the National Women's Business Council. We have three. One is access to capital, one is STEM-related businesses, and one are rural-based businesses. And so that last one, rural-based businesses, is something that resonates with me. I know my colleagues, I'm not on that subcommittee, but my colleagues have done a lot of research and found that, there are challenges that rural-based businesses, rural-based area businesses face, and ones that come to mind are technology, IT, internet access, and those things like that. So those are some things that are unique challenges, but I do know that where there are challenges, there are always opportunities. And so I am grateful to be a part of the council that's trying to raise awareness and get rid of some of those disparities, those IT disparities for women who may be experiencing those challenges.
And then when you look at it from, very familiar with some of the programs from the federal government, the AID program, women's program for federal contracting. Does your agency work and support opportunities for federal contracting as well? Is it part of one of your initiatives?
Great question. Something we always are irritated by behind closed doors, that, there are lots of set asides, but, and I'm very familiar with that in DC, right? Government contracts. There are always woman-owned businesses that there are goals, right? Like, hey, we definitely want to do more business with woman-owned business. We just don't know how. So I will say yes, and yes. That is something that we are not happy with those numbers. We're trying to come up with concrete policy solutions. I know that there were rumblings, and I'm taking my National Women's Business hat off, and I'm putting my Nicole Cober consultant and advocacy and small business owners hat on, that, hey, if we could look at the 8A program as a standard. It is one that has been the gateway of success for a lot of small businesses, not the only. You have to be there. If you get that big contract, you have to be ready to do business with the government, and there's a lot that goes along with it. But I think if the women-owned set-aside programs modeled the 8A programs, and the contracting officers looked at them in the same light, I think you would see a lot more traction in women navigating successfully to do business with the government and higher percentages.
Now, when you look at some of your clients, how do you coach and train your clients? I know many of us are looking at growth opportunities. And to your point, you want to get from a place where you're going from either sidepreneur or a solo entrepreneur to actually establishing a viable business when you hire employees. So can you talk about some of the strategies and some of the things that you work with your clients on in terms of progressively working on future opportunities to help them grow?
Yes. I could focus on one of the three areas: access to capital, so your financial literacy, operations, looking if you're teeing yourself up to be, like I said, if 90% of women-owned businesses don't have an employee or team member, why not? If not, why not? And let's look at your ability, because really your finances will probably dictate why you're not employed, but we explore that. And then finally, your marketing efforts. I want to focus though on, in terms of tips, takeaways, is always access to capital, because I think that's just the foundation of growth. That's the foundation of scaling. And yes, I could be Debbie Downer and talk about all the disparities, about how even in those numbers, you're not getting women in business that are getting as much access to capital from angels or from banks or community lenders. But I'm going to be encouraged, and what I'm going to say is financial literacy and credit is king. Credit is king. Cash is cool, but credit is king. All right. And I think that was a tweetable moment. If there are two people out there listening, tweet that, girl. Keep your credit together. I mean, there are all kinds of privileges. Look, the world is talking about all kinds of privileges, but I will tell you the biggest privilege is credit privilege, credit score privilege. When your credit is tight, you can have access out of poverty. You can have, because you can get the house, you can get the equity out of the house, you can get the line of credit, you can put that into your business, you can hire team members, you can, put your branding campaign on and have the liquidity to do that. But what I do find is there's a big disparity that we just don't know. We don't know how important credit is. And so that's what I just shout from the mountaintops every time I get a chance is, and listen, if you go to the banks, everybody's like, oh, please apply. And we can't tell you the score, 700 or higher. That is it. If it's lower, you're going to get higher interest rates, and it's almost not worth it because you'll go under, because the rates that you are borrowing with is going to put you out of business. So you don't want money at all costs. You want money at low cost. So when you get in the sevens and the 800, 720, 750, then you are powerful, you are empowered, and then you be real particular about that. The other, and just to couple that, one of the things that I counsel all of my businesses on is, a lot of people are like, I don't want to borrow, I don't want to owe anybody anything. That may be true in your personal life, but in your business life, you will never scale if you are only growing by bootstrapping. I mean, now there are lots of exceptions to that, and I know people are probably chatting me away on that, but I do believe if you're interested in succession building and really scaling beyond what you can produce, what type of product or service you can produce, you need that liquidity, you need more people, you need an infrastructure, right? And you can't get an infrastructure just by you making your widget. You need 10 people to make widgets, and you need to show them how to make the widgets, and you need money to make the widgets and the people. So,
that's something that that advice is critical when you look at it from a business perspective in terms of access to capital, trying to scale your business. We've also seen from a COVID perspective, we see a lot of statistics regarding impacts to African Americans in terms of health, in terms of metropolitan areas, and how COVID has impacted us. But we've also seen from a recovery standpoint that businesses that were operating within African American businesses are soon may not come back at all. You're looking at a number close to maybe like 60 to 65% of businesses that will never come back. And that's because of what? What is driving that? And I know the answer, but what have you seen from a COVID recovery perspective?
So it's kind of an unfair question, right? Because we're still going through it, right? We're still in the middle of it. But if I had to venture to guess, to speculate, I would say because of cash flow. I lost my first business because I could not sustain. I was always, so when I speak about this, I lived it. I was in business for almost 10 years, just making enough to make it all together. But once that revenue line disintegrated, the banks were not, I say they went into the witness protection program, like they weren't lending, right? And I know that it wasn't because I was Black or a woman. It was because my credit had been bad, because I had overextended through all my personal lines. Your personal credit is your business credit, and your business credit is your personal credit when you are an entrepreneur. That's just facts, right? So that credit piece right now, if you are, if you are struggling to make your household run, then your business it's you're making these decisions, right? Am I going to pay my car note? Am I going to pay my house note, rent, or am I going to make payroll? And if your credit was already a little sketchy, then the bank, they're not in the business of taking risks. They are in the business of, when am I going to get my money back? Now, the caveat is, if the PPP loan, right? So we can talk about that, but my general thing is, these 65% businesses, if their credit was a challenge, if the banks were already risk adverse, if their cash flow is tight, it's going to be almost impossible to get credit. The caveat is maybe the PPP, and they're tweaking on it with that. We can talk about that, whatever. But that would be my access to capital. The disparity would prevent these businesses from coming back.
Now, you also mentioned industries, going back to the industries opportunities. You mentioned tech. What have you seen your experience in terms of women in tech, especially African American women in tech who work for many organizations, a lot of organizations that we're associated with, but cannot get into that door? What have you seen across the country?
So again, shameless plug for the council, just really grateful that they are talking about those disparities, women in STEM. And what I have found is that pipeline in STEM is not deep. Like, the bench is not deep. And it's so discouraging. And I will say, is it discrimination? Perhaps. But there are things that women, they are discouraged along the way, and this bears out. Girls will love their science classes throughout, and then they want to major in them in college. The guy will get a C in a class and he's like, praise God, woohoo, and he keeps on going. The girl gets a C and her confidence is shattered, and she drops out of the major. And so you start seeing the pipeline disintegrate. So this is not talking about the women that can't get in the door, but I do want to encourage women to keep your confidence up and to get in community with, in college with other, women, not support groups, but teams and groups and mentorship programs, so that the perspective you have is not only your own, which is a limited framework. Then I will talk about women that have navigated through all of that, and they're trying to do their own business, and maybe they're not getting, the angel investment and stuff. I would encourage them, there are women based angel groups. Please look up, shameless plug to one of my colleagues on the council, the Veneta group. They do pitch competitions for women, primarily women in STEM based businesses, to help them refine their pitch, to match them up with angels that are looking for these businesses. So it's not easy, but it's not impossible. You literally just have to have that dog determination and almost overconfidence in the thing that you want to bring to the market is so important that you're not going to let anything stop you. And that mindset, instead of being in your feelings like, oh, maybe I'm not good enough, maybe I'm not smart enough, like, forget that. Like, nobody wins with that. We all feel it, but we don't lead with it. We all are like, oh my gosh, I can't. And then I find my homie or my husband, somebody be like, girl, you got it. And then I'm like, okay, I'm back in there. We've got to have that winning mindset and not focus on the disparity, and focus on, you are going to get it. And that confidence is going to be the catalyst for other people believing in whatever it is that you're trying to do.
Now, we know we talked about one area, but what are some other untapped areas outside of STEM that women can really take advantage of, from either supply diversity perspective or just untapped areas? I know you mentioned the agricultural piece, the rural areas. Any other areas that you've seen in your research, or even now?
I don't have a real focus on that. I do know that a majority of women-owned businesses tend to be service-oriented businesses. So so service. So your spas like mine, your spas, your consultants, your healthcare, health industry. So we could talk about that when I do have a colleague that has a very successful, elder care related business. So tapping into those resources and what you mentioned about supplier diversity, there are lots of large companies, right, that want to do business with women-owned businesses and minority and women of color businesses, but they go to certain channels in order to find you. So shameless plug for getting certified, all right? Woman-owned businesses getting their certification. What do I mean? WeBank. So I want all your entrepreneurs to look up WeBank, WENBC.org. But they are a certifying industry entity. And what's more important than just getting the certification, like why is certification important? It's like you get into this club and you get into this ecosystem of other entrepreneurs. You are going to events where the supplier diversity from Marriott and from just the whole gamut, they're coming up. You're getting to do one-on-one pitches with them to say, hey, I do this, I do this, I do that. And that is the scalability. That's the opportunity for you to go from being a mom and a pop to really it being in the multi-million-dollar club, of which only 3% of women-owned businesses make more than gross more than $1 million, right? So what I'm telling you is what I know. It's getting in these circles. It's learning how the game is played and who is playing the game, and teeing yourself up to have the pieces to play with them.
Now, a question that's always asked to me and people in my circle is, why entrepreneurship?
Why entrepreneurship?
Why I could just stay at my company, making good salaries, you got healthcare. But why entrepreneurship? Why should Black women start businesses?
That is a great question. I don't think they all should. I'm being so honest about that. It is like an addiction. It is like it's either a calling or an addiction, brother. I don't know. Some days I don't know. But because it's so unsure. Right. And so what I would first ask you is, what is your risk level tolerance? I didn't know this about myself. I thought I was very conservative and did not have a high threshold for risk. But when I did my first business and when I did my second business and when I'm encouraging other people, I realized that there is an energy, there's something in me that is it's exciting, right? And so that excitement is bigger to me. Now, no, let me just say the excitement and the thing that you want to bring to the market. Like I really, really wanted to bring a day spa, an elegant upscale day spa for women of color. I really want to do that. And I really now love consulting. I know I can't hide it, but I love consulting. I love helping businesses navigate problems and finding a strategy. And I love it so much that I would withstand all the heartache and, heart palpitations and stomach aches, like, am I going to make payroll? I've been through all of those things. That excitement and that fortitude, like, I got to get that thing to market is so, it's so intense. My husband, he is my partner. His side of the house is real estate development. He has been doing commercial redevelopment in communities for nearly 3 decades. You talk about two crazo people. You got a lawyer and a real estate developer and business consultant, but our hearts are so with redeveloping communities and businesses that we would not be happy doing anything else. And so that's what I would say when people are like, oh, I don't want to work for the man, or, oh, I don't want to, that's not enough. It's not enough, because when you go into entrepreneur, guess what? You work for all the men. You work for your customers. You work for your clients. You work for your team members. You work for your politicians, because you got to make sure that they like you. It is you're really entrenched in that community. And so I agree with you. I won't say I agree. Why entrepreneurship? It is not for everybody, but if there is something that you feel so purpose-filled about that you lie awake at night thinking about and sketching and doing it, like, I want to work with that person and I want to help that person figure out all of those steps that come with it.
Now, thank you so much. I know in this time frame, while we have a couple of minutes here, you are wearing a lot of different hats. So you are representing the council, you have your business, you are counseling others, you represent many firms, a wife, a mother, but you're also battling and you're also working on a personal level for your own health. Can you just share with the audience and all the things that you're going through right now?
So I chuckled with Norville. I was like, I really love you all very much, because right now I am going through chemotherapy. I did have a cancer diagnosis in the middle of COVID and civil chaos. I was diagnosed with cancer. So I told him, I said, I love you because I have less hair than you do, my brother, right now. I did this. So I didn't want to draw attention to that. But in all seriousness, life happens. Life happens while you're living. And I do believe that my faith and the faith that I have exhibited, and I talked to you about that. That's great that we just talked, but that kind of, that spirit of like, I just got to do this. It really is even more acute when you are dealing with a health issue, when you're dealing with mortality. And what do I mean? I mean that I try to acutely live daily. Some people would be like, why would you be doing, these appearances, and why would you? But, well, the first part of is why not? Like, I feel good. This is my purpose. I hope to say something, to share my experience, to be helpful to someone else in whatever way I can. That's what we're all here for. Whether we choose to live like that or not is fine, but we are all here with a story. We've all overcome something. I am being a part of this new sisterhood. I realized, oh my gracious, people have been through this 2 and 3 times in years, and you never knew. You never knew. It's whisper. I'll get a text here or a call here or a card here. And I'm like, oh my gracious, I haven't known anyone personally, within my subset. I haven't lived with someone with it. And just knowing how the strength, you just don't know how strong you are until you have to overcome something, until you're going through something. And so I do want people to know that, yes, you can coexist with problems in your life, but you don't have to be defined by them. And so I do want people to know, yes, once I finish, once I press send on this, I'm about to come out of this wig, child. It is so hot, and I will do what I have to do, and I will exhale. But in this moment, I believe I did something that was purpose filled, that God would have me do, because this is my purpose. I love business. I love encouraging people, and I love being an example of surviving, going through. I do know that a lot of businesses, a lot of homes are are fractured right now from economic instability. But what I want you to do, and what I do with this struggle that I'm dealing with right now, as well as financial struggles that I've gone through, is just get through today. Just get through today. Don't worry about tomorrow. Don't regret what you didn't do yesterday. Just focus on today, maximize that, because tomorrow could be a whole different fact pattern. It could be a whole different game. And so I get up every day, it's a new day. What are we going to do today? And that has sustained me, Norville. That has kept me from being, in my feelings. Why me? I've never been like, why me? I'm like, this is just my assignment. He clearly is going to bring me through this so I can have some more stories to tell. So I believe that, and I live like that. And I tell everybody in this house, all of the people who have come back to this house during COVID, I have made sure everybody is on my same emotional page. We're not getting down. We're just going through it, and we'll get through it, and we'll have some blessings along the way, unexpected blessings along the way.
There's so much I wanted to ask you, but you know what? I think we're going to leave it there because, it's important to know that while you are thriving and individuals want to start businesses and continue to grow, the life happens, but you can still overcome that. How can people get in contact with you and follow not only your journey, but just how you're doing, but also, how can they support their businesses, and, how can people get in contact with you going forward?
You got it. So all of my social media handles, please follow me at Nick Cober Esquire, just like is spelled below. And right now, obviously, I'm not taking on new clients. I'm taking it slow, but, I'm always happy to try to answer questions. If you have specific questions, narrow that focus. I get a lot of people that want to, they just have a lot of energy, but I just say, just narrow it to what you want. Focus on, whether it be access to capital, whether it be, operations or whatever. And then I can help you. And also, I do not walk alone. I have the power of the council, National Women's Business Council.org behind me, wealth of resources. I'm just so proud to be a colleague, but I'm such a fan of all the women, all of the entities that I mentioned. WeBank, I sit on the council with the president of WeBank, the Netta Group, looking for access to capital for tech businesses. I sit on the council. And so it's like the super friends. There are a lot of women that even their businesses, their organizations, they are coming with it to empower women every day in their capacity, both in the council, but in their everyday jobs and businesses and careers. So that's what I would encourage people. Please follow me. Please follow the council. Stay encouraged. Your mindset, and I'm telling you, when you are get what was it? Stage 4, or what is it? Stage 4, category 4, breast cancer. That was my diagnosis. I don't receive it. You go through it, you take it day by day, and your mindset is the only thing you control. Listen, I tell people, and it sounds a little funny, but I don't know when I'm going to die, but guess what? Neither do you. And so that's God's secret. So let's let him keep it, and let's focus on living, growing your business, your life, your relationships on a daily basis. Find joy in all things. Find humor. Laugh at yourself. find some joy every day. There's plenty of things to be upset about, but if you can find joy in the middle, or a chuckle, or something to laugh at, I'm telling you, you're empowering yourself, you're empowering your family, you're empowering your community to withstand all of the chaos that's going on, and that chaos doesn't consume you. You are elevated beyond it when you can keep joy within your spirit and pass that on.
Well, I want to thank you on behalf of National Black MBA Metro New York Chapter and bccelerator for this knowing this great conversation, but being transparent and open with us. And we're going to have your information available. So the website and information, we're going to send it out so our members can get access to you. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Nicole and Cober, and we wanted to thank you so much for your time. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Take a load off, and we look forward to connecting with you in the near future.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. God bless you.
Wow, what a wonderful conversation. And now I'm going to bring Andrew Hamilton for some remarks here. Andrew, what a powerful conversation. And wow, I mean, there's just so much to unpack. Just want to get your initial thoughts.
I thought the conversation was phenomenal. When she had her going through her chemo, the first person popped in my mind was Vina. So Vina, get well soon, and Vina is a representation of resilience and power and living through your truth, and making sure that nothing defines her, and she reminds me so much of Vina. So thank you. I thought her conversation was phenomenal. Definitely about the angel investors, definitely about increasing the pipeline, definitely showing the reflection of different phases of entrepreneurship. The one thing that I want to bring up, and the one thing I'm teaching my kids is, like, words are powerful, is she didn't use the word side hustle. So I found a term, hustle, that I thought would be relevant to this conversation. In spiritual terms, hustle is a symptom of our ego's relentless need for attention and approval. Hustle comes from the belief in scarcity instead of abundance. It is the fear of missing out or not being special enough to matter. When we create that mindset, we will never be satisfied and we'll never achieve our best work. Instead, we'll stay trapped in a small, safe thinking that protects our image, never risk our being real or being vulnerable. Worse, we'll never appreciate the true joy of creating the journey and the process itself. So the one thing I want to impart on her journey was her being vulnerable herself to get out of the mediocre stage. She stopped being mediocre and she stepped into her greatness. So I want people to remember that when you play small, act small, you receive small. But when you think big, act big, you will always receive big, and it's always operate from a place of abundance. So hopefully you got that. I got that from her conversation, and hopefully you live that in your next days. I want to thank everyone for appearing in the National Black MBA Digital Series, Entrepreneurial Mondays. My name is Andrew Hamilton, president of the Metro New York Chapter. Once again, I want to thank Norville Barrington. Phenomenal job, Norville, again, providing information to our membership and our community. And I look forward to seeing everyone tomorrow with Michelle Pyram and Simila Roger on her presentation on career insights and tips. Once again on Wednesday with Cheryl Baxter and Kavern Anderson, a conversation about S&P Global and our digital career fair. Really big. I know the job market, people lost a lot of jobs, but we're doing what we can, doing control to change the narrative, and there's opportunities for you. Just trust in us, and we're there for you. Thank you. Have a great evening.
On behalf of National Black MBA Metro New York Chapter and bccelerator, thank you so much for attending the Power of Women Entrepreneurs. Also tune in on June the 26th, if you haven't registered, for our NYBLACKMBA Business Symposium, our 5-hour event where we're going to go through many sessions regarding the power of transferring your opportunities for MWBE contracting. We're going to go over licensing, MWB certification. legal advice, finance and insurance information, and marketing as well. So thank you very much. My name is Norville Barrington. Have a wonderful evening.